Hi, this is Doug Moench, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 324, and you are with your High Priest of Khonshu, Rey. That's me. How you going? And we've got always looking for something different, a different sort of episode. And so if you look up into the night sky, at least during the time of this recording, you would have seen it is a waxing gibbous. So that means we go for an other side of the moon. And for those that don't know what that is, basically it's Moon Knight Alumni creators, their other work. So the other side, instead of maybe Moon Knight, other works by Moon Knight creators. And this time, well, we go straight to the source, baby. It's Doug Moench, and I've listed this as Moench's Melvin Junko. That's a tongue twister, but yes, it is all to do with Marvel's Toxic Avenger, issue 1 from 1991, written by Doug Moench. Yeah, so before we do any of those, or before we get into any of the discussion, just to let you know, I'm just here by myself, going solo, going through this. This was actually suggested through by one of good friends of the show, and he's a fellow co-host of Predator and Prey, a Yaucha podcast, which we just absolutely love doing. Russell, some of you may know him, of course, from Tomes of Evil and Gamma Charge, the strongest podcast there is. A podcast that we recently did a crossover. Go check it out. Last month, we dubbed March as DID Awareness Month, and Gamma Charge and Into the Night, we swapped hosts, swapped spit, if you will. And that was a lot of fun. I got to chat with Lena over at Gamma Charge. We reviewed The Incredible Hulk issue 312. My gosh, one of the best Hulk issues I have ever read, I must say. So props to Lena there for choosing that awesome issue. Anyway, I am already getting sidetracked because it's just me. So you're with a patented Rey ramble. And look, I've got a glass of wine here. I'm in a singlet. It's not hot, but why not? It's not cold. Why not wear a singlet, My guns are looking more like spaghetti noodles, but does it matter? Doesn't matter. I feel comfortable, and that's the main thing. A big shout out to our sponsors, of course, to all you patroonies. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I mean, what has already been said, what can be said, and that has already been said. You guys are absolute legends, and thank each and every one of you. Episodes these days, they might be a little bit more than 7 days apart. I'm trying to keep it regular. Just things in life. I've got a little baby on the way soon. I mean, that's an excuse. An excuse. Another one is that I am massively distracted with Marvel Champions. I don't know if you know. I don't know if I've been lauding it the last few episodes. I can't remember, but I have absolutely been having a ball. It's no excuse, Rey, to drag the feet. So, fear not. Plenty of issues coming up ahead. I actually want to do one with Rebecca. We spoke about it a while ago. Moon Knight has featured in other comics, in cameos more recently in The Punisher, stuff like that. In Doctor Strange, sorry. Of course, written by Jed McKay. So we want to bundle them up and maybe discuss Mooney's appearance in that. Also, as well, we've obviously got the regular issues, the regular series. It's humming, it's purring like a kitten. So there's that to look forward to as well. It just so happens, yep, this is a waxing gibbous, and it is slightly, it calls upon the other side of the moon, which is always a bit of fun. It gives us a little bit of leeway to do something outside to tangentially connect to Moon Knight, and in this instance, it's Doug Moench, of course. So a big thank you to our patroonies. A big shout out to my boy, a fantastic, awesome, absolute awesome dude, Drew Toombs. Thank you, Drew, so much for pledging again, and you've upped it. I believe it's the Lockley tier. So thank you so much, Drew, for that support. Really appreciate it. And while I'm here as well, look, logistically, I did mention, I'm going to say it to the patroonies now. Logistically, I did mention wanting to issue out posters to all of you. It's a little bit more expensive than I thought, so I may have to renege on that, but I might just then do a competition. Maybe someone wins a Tawaret Funko Pop, or they win a, I don't know, I'll have to think of something. I was about to say the Marvel Legends Moon Knight figure, but I know some of you already have that. I've just got to think of it. So I might actually, patroonies, and this will be patrooni exclusive, sorry, loonies, but I might then just look at holding a competition, and then, yeah, making it big. I might try and get a really big prize, because you guys deserve it. And I know I said I'd get the posters to you, but it's, with 15, 16 odd of you, it's logistically a little bit difficult from this little mud ball of a country down under. But I'll come up with something else, so don't you worry. I just wanted to address that because that has lingered. I did say at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, it is already April, so first quarter is already done. Is that quarter? First third is done. So apologies there. But a big thank you again, like I said, to Drew Toombs. A huge thanks to Odin Sword, Frank the Think Tank, Mario Digicom. I like to say that, Digicomo. I love that surname. Daniel Doing, and of course our sponsors, CLZ Comics and Dreamland Comics from Schoenberg, Illinois. If anyone has some connections or contacts for Fantasy Flight games or something, I would really love to have them as a sponsor instead. I'm thinking of chopping and changing the sponsors, that's all. Just to keep it fresh, just to keep things, I'm about to say humming. I know I said that before, but yeah, it'd be good. So a huge thank you to all our sponsors, and probably this is the best time to do it. What I might do now, and I did say this recommendation for this other side of the moon came through Russell Rasucha, so I might just do a quick, I know it's early, I might do a quick break now as well. So Russell has got a bit of a promo ad for his up and coming new show, and yeah, baby, it's all to do with the Toxic Avenger. I believe it's called the Toxic Crusaders. I have not heard this ad, Russell, so I'm going to hear it now live. So let me, on the video feed, because Patronies, you do get a video version of this, let me whisk my mug, made for radio mug, out of the way. There you can still hear me, but let's listen to Russell's promo.
Coming soon to your earwaves, a franchise that has action figures from Playmates Toys. An animated series executive produced by Fred Wolf. A theme song written by Chuck Lorre. They're hideously deformed creatures of superhuman size and strength. They're ugly, but they still get girls. Toxic Crusader! Toxic Crusader! Had no friends That's right, Tromavillians. It's time for the Lloyd Kaufman approved Toxic Crusaders podcast. Diving into the animated series, the toys, the video games, and more. Coming soon to a Tromaville near you.
Come on, Crusaders! It's cleanup time!
Yes. Thank you, Russell. I don't know why I'm talking to an ad. But thank you, Russell. I did it again. So as I said, Russell has recommended this for our show. And of course, this has Doug Moench as the writer, so it is very much connected to Moon Knight. No Moon Knight in this comic book that we are going to review, albeit a Marvel Comics. In fact, there's no real other Marvel comic book character you do see in the first issue, at least. It would be fun. Actually, I'd love to see him mix it with Terra Inc. I really do like Terra Inc. But yeah, so let's get into it. Maybe I'll play that ad again at the end of the show as well, just to kind of, really subliminally ingrain it into your psyche. But anyway, let's get into the other side of the moon. So I will chuck this up here. And again, patroonies who have access to the video, voila, or voila. I think the French say voila. I don't think they say voila. Ray, you're rambling again. Yes, so you've got the visuals to aid you. Now, we're going to treat this exactly like any other Mooney comic, any other Lunapic review, a Moonshine review. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to give you bang, bang, bang. I'm going to give you the credits, not credentials, the credit cards. I'm going to give you the credits, bang, bang, bang. Where it's available, bang, bang. I have written a bare bones, so I'd like to pat myself on the back here because I was hoping, fingers crossed, and I was yearning for a synopsis to be written, but there wasn't, so I had to write it myself. I did it in quick fire. Hopefully I did it in a humorous way, similar to the way this issue was written by Doug. We'll then go into overall impressions and the key aspects, and I'll give it a rating, of course. So, let's get stuck into it. Did you know while I play that ad as well, I pretty much polished off my glass of wine. Is that normal? Maybe I'm thirsty, or maybe I'm really loving the wine. I don't know. It went down too quickly, so now I haven't got a glass to accompany me on this sojourn. Okay, so as I was saying, Toxic Avengers Volume 1, Issue 1. It's titled A Hideously Deformed Creature of Superhuman Size and Strength is Born. I think, Doug, you really didn't dig deep when it came to the title of this issue, at least. It was pretty much a vanilla description on the tin. Release date February 12th, 1991. Oh my gosh, happy heady days, those 1991, that year, that decade. Oh my God, I love it. Cover date April 1991 as well. So writer Doug Moench, penciler Rod Ramos, inker Val Mayerik, colorist Bob Sharen, letterer Rick Parker, and editors Jim Salicrup and Dan Cuddy. Now, available in floppy format or in digital, but I've also been told if you check out Troma's online store, you can pick up the issues there. I'm assuming digital and maybe hard copy. You should be able to find it on eBay as well. I mean, this is an early 90s comic book, and I don't think it is I don't think it's $1 million. I think you should be fine. Or you can actually sign up to Troma now. You get the first month free, and you can read it that way online as well. So let me, for the patroonies, as I mentioned before, let me share the screen. Let's get this happening. What is going on? This is interesting. There we go. There it is. Share the screen. Up you get. Come on. All right. That's it. And that is not the one I wanted for. That's better. Okay. So, as always, what we do, of course, I do the bare bones. As I mentioned, I wrote it. And yeah, I did all that already. Okay. So here is the bare bones for it. When Health Club janitor Melvin Junko discovers the origin of his toxic fate, the Toxic Avenger is born. Shenanigans are aplenty at Tromaville, and a consort of criminals terrorise the town, shifting toxic waste and brandishing uzis. A house for the blind is swept up in flames thanks to the deadly Miss Meffy, but the Toxic Avenger jumps in to save those trapped within. It's here he meets Claire, and after punching the face in of her would-be captor, the two soon seemingly fall in love. Junko recalls how he became the Toxic Avenger to Claire, and in a twist of fate, the health club where he worked was traumatized and eventually transformed, is also run by Mr. Ariman, who seems to have ties with the criminal underworld. Claire declares that evil is afoot, and we soon see minions of the elite corps Black Star 666, a group headed by the mysterious chairman. Claire and Junko have little time to themselves when all of a sudden the Black Star 666 make their entrance in grandiose fashion. A tank headed by one of the goons the Toxic Avenger let get away from a previous scuffle. The issue ends with the tank cannon point firmly at the Toxic Avenger. So, yes, there you go, loony listeners. That was a really roughshod synopsis. I mean, there's a lot to this issue. And I guess I'll go through it anyway. But overall, I really enjoyed this. I was only familiar with the Toxic Avenger. I watched it a while ago, ages ago. I don't know. It might have been in the 90s as well when it came out. When the movie was about. It's always been a bit of a cult classic. So that is my extent of it. So I'm very glad that Russell is going to have a podcast dedicated to it. I can't wait to listen. I can't wait to maybe check out more of these comics because overall impression, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. I thought Moench, it's quite different from his Moon Knight or even his Shang-Chi kind of writing. He's got a very nice little, tongue-in-cheek style here, which I'm assuming is the style of the Toxic Avenger. I mean, from memory, I think it is very much kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing. So I think Moench does really well with this. I enjoyed it. As far as setup issues go, this is quite good, considering it was in the 90s, 91. Paced very well. We got the origin. We got the setup, the criminals, the villain. And we get, he's not just like a wandering thug. We get Claire as well. So there's a bit of the love interest there. We know the Toxic Avenger is all about, women in bikinis. We see a bit of that with the health club. It's that kind of mishmash of grotesque monster with scantily clad, women, and in this instance as well, some kind of buff cut guys. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And jumping into the aspects, the first key moment I thought was would have to be the humor. I just really enjoyed it. We open up with a introduction of him in the junkyard. He kind of lingers around decrepit kind of areas and stuff, but we don't know much about him here. He's talking about, you get a little bit of Menchisms here. I love his use here of kaleidoscope of laughing teeth. And what have we got here? Breaking glass and liquid green fire. Skin shred, bone stretch, muscle bulge. He uses that later on as well. Nutcracker, bikinis. So you kind of get that sense of that movie straight away, but we don't know what's happening to him. Fantastic art here by Rod Ramos as well. It's sometimes he doesn't look like the Toxic Avenger of the movie, but that's okay. I mean, he's very much, if anything, I think he's very much like a romanticized version. I mean, I'm going back to the cover here. If you look at the cover and if you look at the little icon on the top left little icon with the issue number and the face of Toxic Avenger is a bit more like the movie. And as beautiful as the cover is, it's a little bit more of a romanticized version of the look of him. He doesn't look as grotesque as he could be looking. But yeah, I mean, it's the humor was really cool. I had to, whether this is meant to be funny enough, he's got a bit of a spider sense. It's called, what does he call it? Tromatons. And it's almost as if, I don't know, it's almost as if his body's kind of farting. Like there's birth, as you can see. It kind of goes off. It kind of radiates or vibrates when danger's about. And again, so within 2 pages or so, we get this. And what I really do enjoy is the weirdness of it. I mean, we've got people like criminals here just hanging around this wrecking yard. They're all brandishing uzis, and maybe this is to do with the criminal activities within Tromaville, but they're very much over the top. I'm thinking kind of, criminals and villains from The Crow, Brandon Lee's The Crow, where they're very over the top. And anyway, these guys are very over the top 90s. There's a guy there with he's got a huge earring. There's a guy that's dressed as a woman as well, a bit of a cross-dresser, a bit quirky, a bit fun in that regards. But they all, because I had to double check that anyway as well, because he does wear high heels, and there's a couple of shots where it's like, oh, he is wearing high heels. But they hear something. They hear the Toxic Avenger scream, so they just jump out with their uzis and they start shooting up the place. But not to be. Toxic Avenger with his mop. I love it. It's kind of almost mystical mop. I mean, that thing would break in a heartbeat, wouldn't it? So, he does away with them. And like, I'm just trying to find the humor. Like the first key moments I did say, one of the bits of humor here is the cross-dressing guy. He gets thrown. Toxic Avenger easily does away with 2 of the 3 kind of thugs. And he, without missing a heartbeat, he picks the guy up after he throws him in some toxic waste. And the guy's literally dead. I mean, he's a skull and awful. But Toxic Avenger here says, a hint, scumbag, never dive in battery acid without a full metal jacket. And he starts laughing. And I think that sort of thing sets the tone for this series. And I think Doug Moench does really well. He's got a very quirky kind of sense of humor. And there are little quips that kind of go along the way, like Toxic Avenger absconds a taxi or a cab, and he says thanks for the loan of the cab and the call for help, when the guy literally was shouting help, there's a monster there. There's also another one. I'm just going to fast track it here. There's a bit where, as I mentioned in the synopsis, the criminals burn this refuge. It's kind of like an art gallery at the beginning. It's a Pleasant View Haven, Tromaville home for the blind, and there's an artist there. I don't know, just random stuff. Anyway, he likes drawing eyeballs to blind people. It's really kind of on the nose sometimes. But anyway, this humor that I'm talking about, as I scroll down, that they set the home for the blind ablaze. The criminals say, eliminate all, not eyewitnesses, all ear witnesses. It's just really kind of, I don't know how it would go down these days. But also as well, the blind people, as they run out, help, I'm burning, and one of them says, "Are we outside yet?" Just really kind of having a go at them being blind, and using that for the humour. So vastly dated, of course, but what Moench does, he successfully instills that kind of crass, that really, I don't know, awkward, cringeworthy humor in this. And from memory, I think that's how the movie kind of plays out as well. Well, if I'm going to stop in this one here as well, I did mention about the humor, but there is no shortage of violence. We do see the Toxic Avenger. It's in a Marvel comic, so he's super strong, super durable, but it's not until we see him punch, literally, and I said in the synopsis, punch the face in of one of the thugs, and you can see it there. It's quite horrific. That is like a call to the movie as well, because it is very kind of graphic in that sense. I mean, these days it's probably not as graphic as as your Saws, or who knows, those kind of gory horror films. But that one panel there, really well done by Ramos. He literally just punches the guy's face in. It reminded me of Ray Stevenson's depiction of the Punisher in Punisher Warzone, I think it was, where the Punisher, I mean, geez, he must be strong. He just punches the guy's face in, again, literally. I'm going to jump here to another aspect. This is the meeting with Claire. So Claire is blind, and it's kind of, to me, it reminded me of that Alicia Masters, Ben Grimm thing, in the fact that she's blind and she sees the inner beauty of him. I mean, for sure, I was reading and thinking, surely she would be feeling the ooze and the ickiness of his skin, and when she kisses him, I mean, he's got one eyeball dangling down. I mean, surely you would sense that sort of stuff. But anyway, that aside, she really loves the whole kind of thing about him saving her. She really thinks he's got a good heart, and he does, Melvin Junko. And so we do see Claire there. So that was her introduction. She was held captive by this guy, one of the goons, and he gets his face punched in. And then from there, but the thing also we get from this scenario, is that the public in general kind of see Junko, or the Toxic Avenger, as a monster. That kind of whole thing of, visually he's seen as a monster, misunderstood. And they're saying, he's ravaging that poor girl. He burnt down the home for the blind. He didn't do any of those things, but the citizens of Tromaville obviously see otherwise. So they whisk it away. But I think Claire is an interesting character. We'll see how she goes. It's funny to play her off the other love interest that Junko does mention in his origin tale. What is her name? She's a real piece of work. Linda, the girl of his dreams. Actually, without the sunglasses, looks very similar to Claire, like just in the fact that she's blonde. But in this health club, I guess I'll go to Junko's origin. It's cool. I mean, we see it. This is exactly what you want to see in issue 1. He works in this health club. He's kind of like the janitor. He's got the mop. He's like a young kid, really. Like, he's still shown as he still lives with his mum. She's pushing him out, telling him the finer arts of work and a good work ethic. And Junko is an awkward teenager who's surrounded by, muscly or lithe, human beings, all scantily clad, and he's this guy just trying to do the cleaning up. But it's kind of the epitome of jocks. Jocks with a nerd to harass. And not only that as well, Mr. Ariman, who we know has ties with crime. he owns this health club, and he terrorizes Junko as well. So we get a really meaty, I think, origin. I found it quite engaging. Like sometimes origins, you're going through the issue, and it's like, oh god, here we go. Here's the origin, and it's kind of okay. Let's go through the beats. But this was done pretty cool, pretty well, and I think a lot of it had to do with the callback to the Toxic Avenger. And again, women in bikinis, that kind of talk. There's, the little things here, bit of cheeky things where Junko's trying to clean up around the pool. I don't know why he's trying to mop up around the pool. I mean, it's always going to be wet anyway. And his broomstick, his mop stick, hits the bottom of a woman. And then we get Mr. Araman and Linda talking, and they seem to be a bit of an item. They seem to really want to mess with Junko, which we see, and again, kind of establishing their character, the type of people they are. Even to the fact that Linda, she pretends, she uses her her feminine wiles, I guess, to play on Melvin's kind of lust for her. Promises to kiss him, and during this origin, we see they're bringing in the toxic waste. They haven't planned to kill him by any means. I mean, it's still just a plan of humiliation and psychological murder, but. We get the toxic waste coming in. It goes through the front. We know that Mr. Araman says you should have gone through the back there. If that happened, then the Toxic Avenger wouldn't have eventuated. But Linda gets Melvin to dress up in, like a tutu, some weird clownish ballerina outfit. She takes his clothes, and he's basically paraded, or as he chases her, paraded in front of everyone who's been listening in at the locker room, all the bullies, all the terrible people. They're there just to make fun of this poor guy, and Mr. Araman as well. He's the boss, which is crazy. You don't expect that from if you're being bullied and stuff. It's actually, geez, it's coming right from the top there. I mean, he's sanctioning it all. Anyway, they chase him, and what I found funny was this low window. I mean, why do people have such low sills where you can just run through it? And he does, and this is the origin where he splotches into the toxic waste. He gargles and twitches, but he turns into the Toxic Avenger, and that's the hero is born. So a really good origin, I think. And an establishment of Junko, Mr. Araman. I don't know if we'll see Linda again. She might have just been there to taunt Melvin. I don't know whether she has a greater part in it. Mr. Araman obviously does. And, my next aspect are the criminals, basically. My last two aspects are the criminals. Mr. Araman and Miss Mephi. I'm assuming Mephistopheles or Mephisto. Miss Mephi's name is. She seems to be a bit of a hired, like she's one of the lackeys or minions of Araman. She's the one that burns down the House of the Blind. She gets a comeuppance when the Toxic Avenger goes and drops a petrol tanker truck on her and some goons. So, she pays for it, although I think she survives. I can't remember. But we have a two-pronged thing here with Araman, who the big boss, but this chairman, introduced in the latter stages of this issue here as well. So, kind of prefaced by Claire just saying evil is coming to town. I'm just trying to read this at the top. Toxic Avenger is saying, and that's when I found the home for the blind burning and the little people, and all the little people of Tromaville suddenly willing to jump to conclusions. What on earth do you think is going on? And she says, I think evil is coming to town. What better way to introduce another evil? We only see this guy once he just says excellent, and he talks about the driver to hurry up. He has a woman there who's again scantily clad. She's on her knees. She might be the 2IC. And then we have people saluting the Black Star 666 Elite Corps. They're going, I don't know how that ties into the Toxic Avenger, like how, why they're in this truck called the Apocalypse as well. I don't know why they're heading towards the Toxic Avenger. I guess we'll know further on. But at this stage, Claire and the Toxic Avenger, like, he's showing her his abode, which it must be all coming back to him now, because he's in a shack in a like a junkyard, a wrecking yard. Again, he starts farting. His body starts convulsing, and he knows that there's danger afoot. And of course, it is afoot. It's a tank, 666 tank from the Black Star Corps, and they smash through his house. Claire's wondering what's happening. She thinks that his shack is a bit shoddily built. It isn't. It's headed by a tank with the guy that he kind of let get away in the early stage. Let me just scroll all the way back. That was let me scroll back. That was in the opening gambit when he was trying to figure out who he was. As I mentioned, the crossdresser. He threw the other guy away, the guy with almost the crow-like makeup. He kind of punched him, threw him, I don't know where. Oh no, he threw him in some tires. And that was pretty harsh as well. He threw him in some tires and he bounced him down the hill and it exploded. And the other guy was in the battery acid, and the third guy runs away that we see there, as you can see. So he comes back at the end, which is quite cool. I'm sure he's not going to live that long, but I wonder what happens then. So, I mean, that's it. And further on, I mean, we get Toxic Times here. I love it. Look at Spider-Man there and the Toxic Avenger. He's looking very much like a cheap version of the Toxic Avenger. This is kind of like he's been left in the sun a bit. But anyway, exciting times ahead there. Let me just see if I can pull up, because I did 11 issues. So there are 11 issues of this. But yeah, I mean, overall, I gave this a firm, solid round boy, 7 out of 10. I thought this was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's something I would never have considered to read. Thankfully, my fellow podcaster and co-host Russell is starting up Toxic Crusaders. I can't wait to dive into it. He showed me a couple of figurines. He mentioned in the ad the animated series or animated movie. I'm keen to hear or see that. But also more on the comics. I mean, I think Ron Ramos does a really good job with the art. I really do enjoy it. It's very 90s in a lot of senses, but also the stories as well. These criminals are so over the top. It kind of adds to the whole flavor of the Toxic Avenger. So, I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think I wouldn't say a vast departure, but it is a departure for Doug Moench. For the things that he's done before. I've read his Max series on the Master of Kung Fu. I've read his Deadly Hands of Kung Fu as well. I've read obviously we've all read Moon Knight. That sort of stuff. And this is very different. It's a little bit lighter. I guess I would say lighter. I mean, it's heavy because there is some gratuitous violence and some, the fact that he's a toxic sludge kind of guy, but it really does remind me of like the 90s The Crow film, like just how criminals are depicted there. Any kind of 90s thing. Even I'm going to go even further and say like Alien 4 Resurrection, those kind of characters where they're kind of really, they're one-dimensional, but they're, I wouldn't say they round out because of they're so over the top, but they're distinct. I mean, this was in the 80s, but all I could think of is you get distinct characters. I think the brilliance of the likes of, Bill Paxton, who did Hudson in Aliens, he turned that character in so much more, just the way that he depicted him. He was an over-the-top character, but I think because of the likability and the skill of Bill Paxton, he made that character a truly memorable character. And I don't know where I pull that from, but I'm just thinking. I always think of Hudson as kind of very OTT, but this is not to that level. But it's still fun nevertheless. Interesting to see if there are going to be any Marvel cameos as well. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But what else can I say? It was really enjoyable. I didn't get any feedback from anyone. That's fair enough. It's such a out of left field issue, but there is still time, of course. I want to hear what you have to say. I might actually add some messages on Discord to get a discussion going as well. But let us know what you think. I mean, if you can track this down, if you can kind of download it somewhere, by all means, give it a read. It is a lot of fun, and let us know. All right, well, loonies, I think out of the couple of disruptions, I'm going to have to pull the pin there. And I hope you've enjoyed this little solo episode as well. I have no idea how long this went. It could have been like half an hour or something. Usually I try to aim for a more structured duration. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Next episode, shall I say? Let me have a look. It's going to be not that long to go really. I'm going to check right now as we speak. If I do a Friday or Saturday, oh my gosh, it's a full moon. Full moon. What is that? Let me have a look. Moon and stars. A full moon is something to do with TV for Moon Knight. So that is definitely on the weekend. I'm going to have to figure out what that will be. But fear not, there will be an episode. Hopefully I'm going to record. It is Easter break coming over. I will have some free time on a Good Friday and on the Saturday. So keep your eyes peeled there, and you'll get another episode quick sticks. As Finn coughs here, I'm going to have to go and wrap up quickly. All I'm going to say is thank you once again to our patroonies. Check out patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight. Big thanks to Odin, Frank, Daniel, Mario, Justin, Derek, Wayne, Josh, Anthony, Russell, Michael, Drew, Matthew, Jonathan, and Dan. Huge thanks to our sponsors as well. Check out Drinking Marvel Podcast, I Want to Fight It Podcast. Check out Fringe Night. Check out also Drew Toombs' music on soundcloud.com/Toombs and bandcamp.com. Where am I gone? /Lurk Music. Also, CLZ Comics at collectors.com and Dreamland Comics. Use the code MOON to get 20% off their online store. We're part of the collective. Fantastic stuff. Russell's. Check out Russell shows. Seriously. Tomes of Evil. Check out Predator and Prey. I'm on that as well with Justin and Russell. And also check out, of course, Gamma Charge, the strongest podcast there is. Also look out for the Toxic Crusaders coming out through as well. I know Russell had a great time with Lee Kaufman, one of the creators. Russell, is that right? Of the Toxic Avenger, endorsed and gave the AOK for Russell to do a podcast. So can't wait to hear that as well. I want to give some love also to the TV podcast industries, Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast, and why not? I'll give it to EMP, Earth's Mightiest Podcast. They're all doing great stuff. Go check it out. Links in the show notes too. Finally, you can contact us on, and I'll post this up as well with a video. You can email us at feedback@ITKMoonKnight. We've got a website, itkmoonnight.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The important thing is to remember the handle is ITK Moon Knight. So YouTube is youtube.com/ITK at ITK Moon Knight. You've got to add that at in as well. Anyway, Looney listeners, I'm hoping this stitches up okay. It's been a bit of a ride going through this episode. I have the baby monitor right next to me. Hopefully it makes some sort of sense to you. Hopefully, Patroonies, you've enjoyed the videos and the little bits in between. And as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. I'll catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.
See this episode's show notes for our unique promo code to get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn when you sign up for a new account. Get your show on Apple and Spotify, get helpful stats and all the support you need to sound your very best.
Hello world, it's time to open the green door and enter the strongest podcast there is, Gamma Charge.
Twice a month, Russell and I dive into the history of the Incredible Hulk in comics, film, TV, games, and more.
That's right, Justin, and we rate and review all the Jade Giants media, good and not so good, with a smash or a gamma clap. And we put on the rant pants when we just can't take it.
And join us on Patreon to get exclusive bonus podcasts, prizes, and more at patreon.com/Gamma Charge Hulk Podcast.
We will see you real soon, Gamma Beasts. Stay green.
Gamma Charge.
The strongest podcast there is.